Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. John and I are going to be continuing our albums of 1994. We decided to split it because we're going more than 10 this time, and I think that's the way it's going to be from now on because it's going to get harder and harder. Probably, I would say probably about 2010 is where it's going to go back down to maybe 5 because I don't know any new albums at all. So John's going to start us off on, what are we on anyway? Like number 7, right? We're doing 14
for
progress?
7, yeah.
Wait, how many are we doing in episode? No, we're doing 12 an episode.
Yeah, it's 12. It's 12 in total. 6 last time, 6 this time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so my first up for this show is Kyuss, and Welcome to Sky Valley.
I have heard of this band. It was always in my peripheral, but I never knew what kind of band they were. I never knew what they sang, and this is my jam. I was extremely pleased to discover a new band.
Well, the thing is, I had actually learned of Kyuss because of a cool bootleg. They do a cover of the song Demon Cleaner, which is off this album, with the bassist Scott Reeder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hell of a cover, especially when I went back and listened to the original song and just going, crap, this is amazing. And, yeah, basically, this album is like, it's wonderful, sludgy stoner rock. It's like if Led Zeppelin and Fish had a baby.
Yeah, it's not grunge. It's not classified as grunge, but it's not really classified with really anything at this time. Is there any band that's similar to them in this era?
That I can think of, no. That's just it. It's very much its own kind of thing. Because, yeah, you have all... We're coming out of the era of grunge already. Wow, only 94.
I know. It really seems like it lasted forever, but it's really only 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and it's like we're kind of coming out of that, and in some ways, sure. Some of it kind of, you can, if you like grunge, you'll like this. But if you like Queens of the Stone Age, you'll like this because the guy from from Kyuss, it's the guitarist and the singer, went and formed Queens. So
Okay.
but it's this is just one of those things where I'm glad I just kind of randomly stumbled in on it. And, because as far as I know, I don't think I've ever seen a music video from them. It's not like they were huge MTV, darlings at the time that I was watching.
Right. I don't even know if they're even signed to a major label, were they?
Not really, no. It wasn't like indie, like they were not a total indie thing, but, it's one of those, the main label has the sub-label that has a sub-label. Sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a fucking jam, and I love it.
Normally we go through our list of the albums that almost made it, and I just realized I threw away that piece of paper. I remember a few, if you want to go into that. Cheap Tricks, Woke Up with a Monster, almost made it. I struggled. I almost put this on here. Shit. I can't remember. I had like 30 albums on my list. Do you remember anything that was supposed to make it that didn't?
For me, I do have some ones for me because I was gonna do Gore's This Toilet Earth. Almost. This was so close to being done, but Rollins' band Wait was almost on here.
Mm-hmm.
The Meat Puppets, Too High to Die.
Yeah, that almost made mine.
Pigface's Notes from the Underground.
Okay, Pigface, tell me. Is this the band where the guy had nerd glasses and 2 microphones taped together?
I don't know at this era.
Is Pigface the one, or is that the band that's saying Hips, Tits, Lips, Power?
Yes, that's that.
Fuck.
Band.
Okay, so I used to get a tape every month, and I think we've discussed this before, where you would subscribe to this service where you would get VHS tapes loaded with 12 music videos based on the genre. I got like one hip hop and I got one heavy metal, but then I got just mostly alternative. And one of them had Mighty Mighty Boss Tones on there, Vince Neil, Pigface. Whatever the tape was that had Pigface. Right before that is the video where this nerdy guy, he's like in almost a hardcore band, like helmet, and he had nerd glasses and a fucking like office, suit, a shirt and tie, And he had two microphones that were taped together in the middle, so he could flip the microphone around, spin it around or whatever, and sing in each end. And it's going to drive me goddamn nuts. It's been almost 30 years since I saw this tape, and I want to know who the goddamn band is.
Well, that we can eventually find it, I'm sure. So
I kept searching. I have literally typed in that. It's called Your Music Monthly, and I've gone through so many of those trying to find it. I will smooch whoever finds this for me, this information. I will travel to you, smooch you on the cheek. It'll be worth it.
Let's see. A couple of other ones. The Crow soundtrack.
Yes. See, I was curious if we're ever going to include soundtracks, or we're going to do one episode about our top 10 favorite soundtracks of all time.
That I think we might have to do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm hesitant to do that, but considering that the Crow soundtrack is really fundamental to the building of me as a music listener, it felt like I should have included it, but I didn't.
Yeah, I was really tortured on that one. I thought about asking you, and for some reason I just forgot.
Let's see. Godflesh is Selfless. MC 900 Foot Jesus. One Step Ahead of the Spider. Collected Souls. Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid.
Yeah, I almost did that one as well.
And Mathematics Protection.
Yeah, I wish I would stop throwing away. I have a notebook, and I'm always trying to clear it out. And there's like 2 months in a row now, or 2 years in a row now, where I've done this, where I threw away my almost made it list, and I feel like a dickhead. So, sorry.
Yeah, these are all just on my notes.
Yeah, I had tons of hip-hop on there, and just for some reason, this year, hip-hop really did not connect with me. I feel like this is the year where they started diving headlong into, like, gangster rap, which is my least favorite genre, when Dre and Snoop and all those guys started taking over. But one holdover from the previous era, like just as gangster rap was starting to break out in 89, or 88 or 89 or whatever, Public Enemy really broke out. And this is, I think, their last great album. I haven't listened to any of the more recent ones, but Music and Our Message is one of their only, I think it's their only concept albums. And yes, it's a little messy, but I think the point they're trying to bring across, the stories that they're telling, and the overall theme, I thought, was really trying to push what they were doing into a better area. I just wish the songs were, I think, a little bit catchier. But that can be a double-edged sword, because if your song has too many of the same repeated loops and hooks, that also can seem generic.
Yeah, I think it's a good album. Give It Up, What Side You On, God's Complex are all really sick, and I really appreciate them. But yeah, they do kind of go into a decline. The most recent album is amazing. The one that came out, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay. Because I remember he went and did an album with the guys from Rage Against the Machine, 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
No, that's also like 2, 2 maybe 3 at the most years ago.
Oh wow, okay. But yeah, it just seems like I thought they were done, because there's a point where Flavor Flav just kind of disconnected, I think, as an artist, and just became like one of those reality TV stars, and I think that was kind of a breaking point between him and Chuck D.
Yeah, and for the most part, there is an album in the period between this and the more recent one. I want to say it's like 2 albums prior to our newest one. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, whatever reason.
Okay.
But that one was really good too. It has a track with Tom Morello, and it kicks off with Henry Rollins doing an intro for the song.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think so. For this era, though, I do believe this is the last of the great albums. I know they had a hit single off of "He Got Game," but I feel like the edge was off by that, and then I just got distracted and started listening to different hip hop.
Yeah, it's not my favorite album of theirs, but I do think it's still pretty solid.
Yeah, no, Fear of a Black Planet is still their greatest album, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. What is your next album?
The next one is Corrosion of Conformity's Deliverance.
I'm trying to remember if I made it through this one. This one seemed really rough to me. But go ahead.
Well, it's basically Corrosion of Conformity was a punk band that became a thrash band that became a sludge metal band.
Yeah, I think that's where I don't like sludge metal. I don't like when Dio started going like, you know, dark and grimy in the late 80s. That's where he kind of loses me. I just can't get into it.
Well, it's kind of interesting. It's like this is a blend of like Pantera's southern metal heaviness, like the groove metal that they do. But then there's kind of like, in a way, like the more commercial side of Tool, at least around this time, where it's heavy, but it's not oppressively heavy.
Yeah, no, I'm wrong. I'm looking at the tracks right now. No. There's too long of gaps, I think, between when I listen to these albums and when we actually talk about them. I didn't love it, but I did like it. I must be thinking of something else that we listened to.
It might have been the next album I'll bring up. But yeah, I think this and the previous album, Blind, is where they become an interesting band to listen to. And from this point on, yeah, it's kind of diminishing returns after this album. Like I think the next album was pretty well received, had some good stuff on it, but then as it kind of went along, it's just, oh yeah, you're still making music. Good for you. But yeah, Deliverance, Clean My Wounds, and Albatross. I mean, God, this album fucking rips. I love it. I love it so much. You have what song?
I have Toadie's Rubberneck. Known as a one-hit wonder, but if people forget, there was at least one other. It wasn't as big. You know, damn it. Down by the water. Okay, hold on. I'm having a moment. I just ran a bunch, and the oxygen has left my brain. But I think most people remember, you know, that one song, Do You Wanna Die? You know, and that's it. And I thought they were really good. Like, they're the next step from, I think, what... It's like a combination of the hardcore that Helmet was doing and then the grunge era. Like, it was just the next step up.
It's like, this is a band that I don't particularly love. Possum Kingdom is amazing and strong and is so good. And I genuinely thought they literally had one album, because never heard of anything that they had done prior to this.
Right. Well, there was a long gap, right, between albums?
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, is I was reading about this, and basically, Interscope decided to bury them instead of promote them.
Why?
I have no idea. I just know that basically their second album, Interscope, like, they recorded the album, and then Interscope said, fuck it, and it completely just killed it.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Like, they're not happy with how the album sounds, so they said, well, go re-record this, or we're not going to release this album. And they're like, well, we can't afford it. You know, that's how they go horribly in debt. You hear it all the time.
Yeah, it's like, and that's the thing, they went and re-recorded another second album, and then Interscope just went, fuck this, and just basically made everything so difficult for them that they broke up.
Yeah, it sucks. But I know that was the way with Filter, right? It took them like 6 years to get a second album going because the label didn't. Oh, well, this isn't a single. This isn't a single. This is a single. Go find a single. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, and that is kind of the problem, especially at this time, is everything is very single driven.
Yeah. Well, what was that? The second album from Third Base, Pop Goes the Weasel. The one single they had was not on the original whatever they released to the studio, to the label, whatever, for them to listen to, and they're like, well, we need a hit single. And I'm like, well, what do you want us to do? And then they're like, well, you go find a sample that's popular, a Sledgehammer. And then they just like recorded that real quickly and threw it on the album at the last minute, and that turned out to be the single. Same thing with, what was it, Cherry Pie from Warrant? They didn't even want that song on the album.
No, it's a ridiculous, dumb thing, and they were kind of forced to become the band that plays Cherry Pie, because what the hell else did Warrant do? Right.
Well, I've become a huge fan of Cheap Trick over the last 6 months, and their big comeback song, The Flame, the only song they ever had hit number one, they didn't write, they wanted nothing to do with, but the studio said, you either do this or we're releasing you from your contract. That fucking blows. But
There'll be a band under a popular label.
I didn't realize the song that I know the most from the Toadies, besides Possum Kingdom, which I bet you guaranteed maybe 5% of the people who like this song actually know it's called Possum Kingdom. It's like Flagpole Sitta, from Harvey Danger. They don't know it's called that. They're like, isn't that the Paranoid song? Well, this was Do You Want to Die song, that kind of thing. But the other song I really know very well is I Come From the Water, which for some reason my brain couldn't remember the name. But it wasn't a single. I looked right now. It was never released, and that should have been their second single. I think it's really catchy.
Yeah, God, what is it? There is another song on there that I really love, and I don't have it written down yet.
Yeah. Well, it's not particularly a single-oriented album, nor is it a single-oriented band. They're thematic, like Tool is. Tool just got lucky that some of their stuff could be sold as a single. They're trying to bring a whole album feel, like the way it was in the 70s, where you're just trying to get a whole feel. With prog rock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's, as I said, that's the problem with this era, is that people were thinking of, we need to sell the single, get the piecemeal out, get a video going, so that we can sell these albums, but we can also get an additional cassette or CD into kids' hands with remixes and.
Yeah. Oh god damn those. What's the Filter song? Hey Man, Nice Shot. I searched everywhere for the single because it had 4 different remixes on it, and there was one that I was looking for so bad. I paid $10 for that single. $10 because I'm an idiot.
Hey, I had the Orgy Blue Monday single that had all the remixes, and it ended up being that all the remixes suck.
Oh, that's lame. All right. Well, what is your next album?
Okay, Therapy. ? And the album Trouble Gum. Now, this is the one that I think you may not have liked.
Nope.
Yeah,
sorry.
Because this is their best known album. They were really like a hardcore noise rock band, like old school Godflesh and old pitch shifter and stuff like that, where it's just loud, abrasive noise. And then this album kind of goes into a little more hard rock, kind of punk direction. And I really wonder why I hadn't sought these people out at the time I was really into noise. Because 100%, this would have been something I would have cranked up on my car stereo and annoyed everybody around me. But there's Screamager, Trigger Inside, Die Laughing, like, especially Screamager. That's like as far as I know, this wasn't necessarily a single released album, but Screamager is 100% like the single from this. But I feel kind of bad. I feel bad that you didn't like it, but I'm not surprised.
Hey, it happens. We talked about this at the end of the last episode. Like, it's not necessarily to woo each other over. There's gonna be some like, what works for you doesn't work for me kind of thing.
Well, I mean, come on. I sat there, and as much as I sung the praises of the Blue album, I also went to a little ape shit on Wish.
Yeah, my next album, I think if you like it, I'll be shocked, because as I'm writing it down, I'm like, he's gonna be fucking pissed. But Dave Matthews, Under the Table, and Dreaming, a lot of it is nostalgia. We listened to this like crazy that freshman year of college. Same thing with Hootie. Same thing with I hated Counting Crows. My sister listened to Counting Crows all the time. Like Jim Blossoms. Like, there was a thing where I was really into, like, I was just coming out of my big rap thing, because we're always listening to rap in the car because my friends all listen to it, or metal. But then in college, you're like trying to expand your listening or whatever, and you're hanging out with girls more, and like in their dorm rooms or whatever. So you listen to a lot of this, and you kind of just like, you know what? It's a nice, chill album. I know some people fucking hate Dave Matthews. The first 2 albums, I think, are completely fine.
Well, I think where my dislike of Dave Matthews Band comes from is you couldn't escape Crash Into.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. If a lot of it is people hatred when you can't get away from a band.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it's that particularly good of a song, but it's not as shitty as, say, Wonderwall,
which I like.
which I'm still inundated with. I fucking hate Oasis. Please don't make me listen to it.
All right, I'll try to skip it in 96 or 95 or whatever.
But, familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I did go into this wanting to give it a fair shake. It's been a while since I've heard DMB.
Dork.
And I didn't realize I had heard What Would You Say and Ants Marching.
Yeah, What Would You Say is probably my favorite of it. He has a very unusual way of singing too, which I think can be irritating. He's like a Jack Johnson kind of voice.
Yeah, it's like I was kind of surprised that those were songs off this album, and I do kind of like Ants Marching.
All right, and Trippin' Billy's is on this one too, right?
I think it
so.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it wasn't like a revelation that I was totally wrong about them. But I didn't have a bad time.
Okay. I just remembered some rap albums earlier that almost made the list. Okay, so Nas almost made the list, Biggie and Warren G, but they're just not. They're almost good enough to make it.
Okay, well, it would have been interesting to listen to Nas again.
All right, your turn.
All right. Bad Religion's Stranger Than Fiction. Now, at this point, the albums that are on this list that'll be here are kind of where my gateway into punk was. And Bad Religion, and then, again, another band that we'll be talking about, were kind of the second steps to this. When I was a freshman in high school, my family hosted a German exchange student, and he was a big punk fan. I mean, like, he wasn't like, Mohawk or anything like that. He was, quote unquote, normal looking, but he had a huge appreciation, and he shared a ton of his punk albums. So it's this, the Gray Race, were very, as I'm really developing my music taste in high school, that helped out. Plus, listening to K-Rock from LA a lot really kind of cemented that because, wow, this is a hell of an album. Just re-listening to it after quite a few years.
Yeah, I've only ever listened to a couple songs from them, and I was all the way in with this. Is that year of punk revival, but everybody talks about Offspring, Green Day, and
Rancid.
Thank you, Rancid. But they never mentioned Bad Religion.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame because they had some, and I almost had some of these albums on, that we would have listened to because Against the Grain, No Control, both are fantastic albums. And this is like their first official release on a major label, is their best. I mean, Suffer maybe is a contender for that title, but the other two albums I mentioned are just, as again, you could say any of those and I would agree with you.
Yeah.
But, you got Infected on this album, the title track, Television. It's like, shit, there's a re-recording of 21st Century Digital Boy, which is amazing.
That's like the one big single from that one.
That's cool. Infected was the big single from this one.
Oh.
21st Century was actually off Against the Grain.
Oh, okay, gotcha, sorry.
But it was being re-recorded. It went back into the culture, and we all kind of got reminded of how fucking good that song is. But yeah, this is one of the punk albums that got me to want to listen to punk.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your next one?
My next one is Megadeth, Euthanasia. Almost as good as boy, I'm having a day, aren't I? Eve of Destruction? No. Symphony of Destruction.
Oh, Symphony.
Yeah, but
well, Countdown to Extinction is the album.
Oh, Countdown to Extinction. Jesus! I'm embarrassed. You know what? I'm going to quit. I'll go get a new co-host to work with you. I'm sorry.
Well, it's like, I'll say this. This is an album that I feel is kind of like So Far, So Good, So What that we covered before.
Uh-huh.
Where it's a good album, but it's sandwiched in between better albums.
What's the one after this again?
Well, it's Countdown, and then the one that came out after this is Cryptic Writing.
No, that's the one with Trust, right?
Is the one with Trust.
Okay,
And
yeah.
Almost Albums. Which, I will even step back from saying great albums by going, I get it. Cryptic Writings is a very commercial album.
Right. Well, I mean, that's when they were trying to do what Metallica was succeeding with, even though I know some people hate it, is when they went, like, cut off the hair and they went a little more grungy than metal with S&M. And,
Dean Load?
Load. God damn, seriously, fucking fire me. Fire me!
But yeah, that's the thing. I don't think there's nothing really bad about this album.
No.
But I don't think it's also, I mean, you got truly, like, Atout Le Monde and, oh shoot, what's the other one that's really fucking good off this album?
Well, you're fired too. No.
There's like, I think 2 really good songs off this.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Blood of Heroes, which no one ever talks about. Blood of Heroes and The Killing Road, I think, are 2 that should have been singles after this, and they didn't. They only released Train of Consequences and L'Atout Le Monde. L'Atout Le Monde is a very strange one because so much of it is in French, and that's just a wild thing to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I'm not going to go too personally on this, but that song has a lot more resonance with me and my family.
Uh-huh.
Recently, dude, I'm not going to go into it, but there's a lot more resonance for that song in more recent years than than a lot of songs I've listened to. But like I said, I think it's a fine album. But yeah, it's like I said, so far it's a dark horse album in that it's like, yeah, you got a great album before it, you got a great album after it. It's not bad, but you're not going to remember it as much as the things that surround it.
Do you remember how bad things went when they did Crush 'Em? What was the '99 album, the one they did from Universal Soldier, The Return? People are like, what is this funk disco shit?
Yeah, it's definitely nothing that they've done. Even the worst of Megadeth is at least it's not their album Risk.
Oh, that's it, Risk. Yeah, I don't know. I don't hate that song, but I was like, okay, so that's weird. All right, you're next.
Okay. The next one is Green Day's Dookie.
Which was on my list, but I decided, like, okay, I can't handle... I need to switch things around with you so I can have more albums.
Well, that was it. It's like, I had this and the following song as I'm not going to do them because I'm pretty sure you will.
Yeah.
And then behind the scenes on this, I did ask when you brought that up, it's like, I specifically asked, are you going to do these albums?
I'm sorry, I fucked things up for you.
and because you kind of wanted to expand it, it's like, okay, then I will take them and I will listen to them because they make me happy.
Yeah. Now, I'm trying to remember. I had one of the albums before this, but I feel like, didn't they take some songs from the first 2 albums and compress them into this? I can't remember if they took...
They redid Welcome to Paradise, if I remember right.
Is that the only one?
That's really the only one. It's like
okay.
They really re-recorded one song. Most of the other stuff, like 1039, where's crap? Because I can only think of it as 1039 / Smooth Out Slappy Hours.
Yeah.
Which is the compilation of like the first 2 releases, one of which is an album and an EP. I forget which one was which.
Yeah, Kerplunk was the album I grabbed after Dookie. Because do you remember when they were like, $5 bin at Target? That's where you would find Kerplunk and the one before that.
Yeah, it's like I had all those after because of Dookie. Like, and that's the thing is, I don't give a shit if you love American Idiot, and it was made into a Broadway musical and all that shit. And I'm sure the band never imagined the success that would have came from something like that. Dookie is their best fucking album.
Is it? I gotta revisit all of them, but it does feel like it's the one that's most single ready. It's so funny how this was just like, it kicked the fucking doors open just like the way Weezer did of, okay, yeah, grunge has had its day. We're here to kick it in the teeth and take over. It was only like 3 years later after grunge started to break through. That's wild to me.
What's funny is, like, this album really is all killer, no filler.
Yeah, well, punk albums tend to be a lot shorter too. They don't fuck around.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like everything in here hits hard. There's, it's now, yes, there is the old school punk backlash against the success of this because it is a far more commercial album than Dead Kennedys or Black Flag.
Well, I mean, people hated the Ramones for a while too. They're too commercial. They're too poppy. And now look, out of all those punk bands, it's the Ramones that are celebrated more because they weren't so full of them fucking selves. Sometimes being like pretentious and artistic can just be boring. You suck the fun out of it. Alan Moore! Like, just go have a good time, you pretentious fuck.
but yeah, and I'm not a particularly big fan of the pop punk genre. Which was invented to be an insult to bands like Green Day and
Is it?
Offspring. Yeah, it was an insult that people just kind of went and took with it, and it became its own genre.
I guess. I just feel like it was just the next generation, following the path that Green Day broke.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's any kind of genre that we think of now is always something that one band did, and either a bunch of people ripped off, or they decided, oh hey, that sells records, let's do it.
Yeah, well, just simply it was a bunch of middle school kids who had discovered Weezer and Green Day and stuff like that, and 8 years later they finally have their own band, and that's what they're starting to do, is their version of what they grew up on.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I disagree with calling most of Green Day, I mean, even the stuff that I don't particularly care for, necessarily pop. And even though it's commercial, sure, but they still rocked pretty fucking hard.
Well, yeah, and I think thematically, that is the one big difference between a lot of the pop punk of the 2001, 2002 era, is it's a little more flimsy, that era. Green Day really has something to fucking say. I mean, for years, it's just like, yeah, we sound like those other guys, but we actually have more substance.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I don't remember, I think we may have said something about this, so I'll feel bad if I'm insulting a band that you like, but Blink-182.
Yeah, I mean, I could give or take them. But they are they're the next guys after Green Day, and they were more juvenile. They're the National Lampoon, to Green Day's like SCTV or Kids in the Hall. That it's just more of a in your face, not that complicated bullshit.
Well, it'd be more like, oh god, I'm trying to think of like a different comedy thing where it's like, oh, it's and I was about to say Ben Stiller show, but Ben Stiller show was actually good.
Yeah.
But what's one of those failure TV shows that...
It's Mad TV to Ben Stiller.
Yeah, there you go. It's, even though they had a lot of success, yeah, that's where I would go, that's weak sauce shit. Even though there are Blink-182 songs I like, it's like, that's weak sauce shit compared to a band that actually is a punk band that just knows how to be commercial. Right.
Well, I mean, it's a lot about the layers. They're complicated with their lyrics, like the way Harvey Danger is. It's lyrical hopscotch, is what I always. I don't think that's a thing. I just made that up. But it's just the way the patterns of the words, without really cheating and repeating too much. It's like you're never really certain of where the lyrics are going to go, which is the sign of a bad punk song. Is if you're like, well, this is you just know where it's going to go. But to this day, I had a boss at my last job who would always say, do you have the time, or if you have the time? And I would always go, to listen to me whine. And then I'd just go through the next 5 lines and just watch as her eyes roll and regret even saying that.
Oh, yeah. as long as you knew what you're referencing, that's the important thing.
No, she was an old school. She was a metalhead, which is so weird because she was 60, but she was like, yeah, I used to go watch this Dio and all those bands or whatever in concert. I'm like, I'm so jealous. She goes, I went and saw Slayer. I was like, what?
A boss of mine was friends a long time ago with Jason Newsted.
Oh, wow.
Like when he was in Flotsam and Jetsam and shit.
Okay.
Like pre Metallica, Jason Newsted.
All right, so that is it for that out. Oh, wait, no. That's your call. You're not done.
No, yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, sorry, I forgot I hadn't chosen that one. Pearl Jam Vitalogy, the last great Pearl Jam album. I think, yeah, I know Yield is respected, but I gotta tell you, when I finally listened to it, I was like, okay, I guess we're done here. Like, I remember around 2009, they had, what year was it with the Spin the Black Circle? Hold on, I'm lost in the Pearl Jam albums. No, they did a video around 2008 or 2009 where it was Todd McFarlane, I think, animated it, and I was like, oh, that's a comeback. But there had been a long gap between Vitalogy and that, and I just feel like they were just noodling around. And
well, the Todd McFarlane video I can think of is "Do the Evolution." That was, I think, off the next album.
Really?
Yeah, because it was. It's that weird. It's like...
it's evolution, baby!
Yeah, Do the Evolution.
Alright, I'm going to look it up. I want to know what year this is from, because maybe I was in a coma.
Because that would have been like 97, maybe? 97, something like that. Well, my thoughts on Vitalogy...
Fuck, you're right, that was 98. God damn it.
I'll say this. I like this a lot more than Versus.
Yeah, well, Versus became the one that me and a friend listened to all the time, so I really got into it, but it wasn't as complicated as this one. This one's more mature. Even they are trying to move beyond the sound that they basically, laid the groundwork for in 92, trying to be more mature and realizing, like, we gotta, mix it up, because grunge is gonna burn itself out. And I still say, Spin the Black Circle is a great rocker, but Better Man is maybe their best song ever. I really, really like Better Man.
Better Man was good, and it's one of those songs where I will say this, I was surprised I knew it, and I don't remember where I knew it from, other than...
It's from a movie, right?
Maybe? Or it could have been just general cultural osmosis. I don't remember. But
I could have swore it was in a movie.
I did recognize immediately. I don't think this is as good as 10.
No. 10's all the way around, like a rocker. But this one, unlike their previous albums, is a mood setter. This feels like their version of like what a Pink Floyd album would be in the 90s, where they're just trying to set a tone and a mood where you just kind of chill.
Yeah, I did enjoy this one quite a bit more.
Jesus, this sold 5 million albums? I had no idea they were still that red hot by this point. What the fuck? What did Verse sell? I swear Versus didn't even sell anywhere near that. I'm curious. I'm going to go look right now. 7 million albums. Good lord, Pearl Jam was red. Like Stone Temple Pilots was my favorite of the grunge era, but even in 94, my favorite album of theirs only sold 2 million. But to me, that was like the biggest album in history. Wow. They dropped a lot. Their next album, Yield, only sold 1 million.
Yeah. But then that's also, again, grunge was dead at that point.
Yeah.
And
oh, No Code. No, I forgot No Code even existed. So I guess I did listen to them longer than I thought that. 98, I had that album too. That was 90, yeah. Huh. But remember when they kind of climbed up their own butt for a while and they were kind of pretentious and we got a little bored with them?
Oh yeah, well it's like that's the sort of thing that made me not have any interest in them, was like the pretentious assholeness of things. It's why I pretty much hate U2 in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, sure, Joshua Tree is a fucking jam of an album, but...
What's that one? I think it was literally on my list for this year. I think it was this year, maybe the year before this, where they decided to have a little more fun, but then they even sucked more. Was Zootopia or something like that? is the one with Lemon, where he's wearing the giant goggles and they have like electro kind of dancey mix in there, rock and roll, and it's like, oh, this sucks. Oh, Worldwide Suicide is the song I was thinking of. That's the one where it was kind of like a comeback for him.
Okay. Yeah, that one that song I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember the 2009 album they released on their own label, but they signed a deal with Target. And that's right when I was working for them. And one time I was doing an audit on all the stuff that they had, and I found case after case after case of Backspacer and whatever that exclusive Prince album they bought. And I was like, are we just going to keep these forever? I was like, yeah, that's the deal we made to have the exclusives, that we had to order a minimum amount for each store, and we could never return them. And I was like, guys, it's been years since this album came out. We're never selling these. Like, clearance them out or something.
Well, yeah, at this point, you probably could easily, $1 the Prince album.
Yeah. It was like insane. I was like, guys, there's a whole row of these down here. I mean, we're sitting on maybe 500 copies that never sold. It's what a fucking write-off. All right, your next album.
All right, my final album for this show is Offspring's Smash.
Almost made mine. I love this album so much. This is my senior year of high school, and I've got my truck, and I have this on a tape, and oh God, did I wear this thing out.
Yeah, this is still middle school for me, and I think I actually heard Self-Esteem like when I was in detention. But that's also like the first time I heard Nirvana was in detention as well. So
Were you a bad kid? Were you in a lot of trouble?
I got into fights a bit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, short kid.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I thought there was way more hits off of this, but this is another one where your perception of an album changes based on how much you listen to it, not so much the general public did. But I remember the first time listening to this tape and thinking, "Gotta Get Away" is clearly a single. Like they gotta release this. And when they finally did, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a hit in the making." And like, "Come Out and Play" is one that everybody remembers. And it says there was only 3 singles released from this, but to me, it was massive. It's 6 million albums. And you're just telling me they only had 3 hits? The 6 million albums, the kind where you had 8 bangers off of this thing, like top 10 songs.
Well, that's kind of the thing. While this isn't their first album, this was the first album that actually gained notice. So in a way, it kind of makes sense that it only has a small amount of singles.
Yeah.
Because it's, surprisingly, this song got airplay. People like it, and what else does this album have? Okay, let's throw this one out.
Yeah, well, I think, what is this, their 3rd or 4th album? They had been around for quite a while. I think the first one was 89.
Yeah, it's something like that. So
holy fuck. Off a label that I forgot even existed. Is Epitaph still around? They can't still be around, can they?
I think it is.
Really?
I could be wrong, but I think it is.
Huh. Yeah, it says they signed Weezer not that long ago, so I guess,
But, yeah, that's the thing is, it makes more sense that, like, the next album, and definitely the one right after that, which, Americana, has, like, everything is a single, pretty much.
Right. I fucking hate. I was crazy about it at first. Pretty Fly for a White Guy, I thought was so awesome. We all loved it. We got it the minute it came out. We listened to it to death. I fucking hate that song so goddamn much now.
Well, again, with that, it was overplayed.
Well, no, it's the way he sings. I think it's terrible. Shrill bullshit.
I think it's an entertaining song, but if you listen to it more than a couple of times in a month, in a year.
Yeah. You know that song? I think it's off the next album after that. It's Get a Job. If you listen to that, it is clearly Obladi Oblada.
Oh yeah, it is 100%.
How they didn't get sued is beyond me. Anything else you want to say before that album?
No. I will be honest with you. Your last song, the last album, has my most notes.
Oh, really? Okay. So, ubiquitous at this time for me. I listen to this all the time, to the point where once my father complained to someone else. He's always listening to that song, or listening to that album that starts off with, I'm gonna see my asshole brother. I hate that fucking thing he's always listening to. I didn't realize that Bush was not that successful after this. Almost all of their hits, all their notoriety comes off of this album. Because the next two don't sell anywhere nearly as well, and they only have like one, maybe two songs off it. This had like 6 or 7. And yes, at the time it probably seemed exhausting, but I absolutely loved this song, this album at the time. And a lot of it was nostalgia, but I still think it's really great. But I'm curious about what you didn't like about it, because I get the feeling you didn't.
Okay. I think this is actually might have been the first album I bought solely based off the singles.
Okay.
And you know what? I don't think I liked the album as a whole at the time, and just kind of convinced myself I liked it enough to buy the next album, which I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a band that has fucking nonsense for lyrics.
Oh, absolutely, but they're catchy as fuck. So that'll suck me in, dude. I fucking like Pauly Shore movies, so I'm not the exact person to go to for taste.
Like you bring up everything Zen, and I get parts of it, like he's adapting like David Bowie's Life on Mars. You know, Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow.
Okay, what does that mean? Yeah, I still have no idea what the fuck that means.
Dave's on sale again. Dave as opposed to Lemon. That's taken from David Bowie. So ask David Bowie what the fuck that means.
Well, is it to say that Mickey Mouse is now well, Disney wasn't that successful. See, Mickey Mouse grows up to be a cow is a lyric that would make sense over the last decade as a metaphor for Disney being so bloated, so overwhelmingly big that it's disgusting. But at the time, Disney wasn't that big, so I don't understand the 70s when he wrote that. But then, when Gavin Rossdale sings it, but he says it like 4 times, you're like, I still don't know what the fuck you mean. Why are you saying this?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, okay, Bomb, I understand, is an anti-war song about the IRA.
Uh-huh.
But look at the lyrics and tell me what the, fuck is he actually saying, because I'm not British.
Dude, musicians are weird, especially the British ones. What the fuck is Dio talking? Actually, is Dio British?
No, I don't believe he is.
He's probably from Idaho. But whenever he sings, the tiger is clean or whatever, don't you know what I mean? And I was like, no, I don't know what you mean. What the fuck does that... like, explain it.
Yeah, it's... little things. Like, you get the chorus, which makes sense, and then it just kind of goes into shit like, the cupboard is empty, we really need food, summer's winter, and you always knew. What the fuck does that have to do with what you're talking about?
Maybe it's delusion to think that summer is full, is fulfilling, and winter is barren and dead, and the person's deluding themselves when he's referring to the cabinet being full of food when it really isn't. Like, maybe it's about a parent who's neglecting their children. Maybe,
but it's like, the chorus being pretty straightforward about little things tearing at your brain all the time.
Yeah.
Being, like you're killing yourself with like the little stuff. That makes sense. Not having food is not a little thing.
Yeah. Well, it could be the little thing that's gnawing at his brain is that he can't let it go. This stuff from childhood that's eating away at him. That won't let him move on.
And don't get me fucking started on the nonsense that's Machine Head.
Oh god, but it's so catchy. It's so catchy, and it's a promotional single from a movie that's fucking nuts. Like pure, unadulterated trash, highly entertaining trash, but trash. Fear.
And that's the thing. What's funny about this album is all the singles off this album are the best songs off the album.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other stuff is just filler, it seems. Like, maybe stuff that they've been working on forever, and they're just like, well, we need more tracks. I'm like, okay.
It's like, Testosterone is straightforward, but it's not a good song. Monkey's straightforward, but not a particularly good song.
And in their second album, this was so successful, it carried them for like 3 years. I mean, this is 94, and Machine Head was a single in the spring of 96. So if I remember correctly, it was either Christmas of 96 or spring of 97 is when the next album came out, and he really evolved a lot over those years.
Oh yeah, and there's a huge difference between this album and Razorblade Suitcase.
Yeah.
It's fucking lyrically nonsense, but it's a lot more coherently lyrically nonsense.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that all the albums?
That is it.
Holy shit, we finally did it.
Actually, I will give Bush credit for this. They went to shit after Razor Blade, but they came back after after a long break.
Right,
And
Rosdale went off on his own, right, for a few years.
yeah, it's like the last I think it's 3 albums have all been really fucking good.
Huh. Do you get the feeling that if we do continue this for I don't know how many more years, if you want to do this, you just let me know if you ever want out. But if we did continue this, we get to year 2010 and thereon, it's just like all bands that pre-existed. Like, there's no new bands being included at all.
Oh no, I would have new bands for a little while.
God, I have
It's all
hardly
gonna
anybody.
be like metal and shit.
Yeah, well, I think the last new band that I liked was Foster the People and Kesha, and that's clearly 10 years old.
Well, I got newer bands than that, but even then, yeah, you start kind of getting a little. It gets you say 5 albums, yeah, that's being generous at some time.
Yeah. All right, so that is the end of this episode. Anywhere you want to promote? Anything you want to promote at all?
I'm on Hive under my name, or actually under musician. I think you could find me maybe.
Dude,
FYUZISHION.
I have an account there. I don't know how to shut it down. It is a fucking waste of time, in my opinion. But that's just me. Yeah. Now I don't know how to walk away from that one. Bye!